when I was age 39 and in the middle of my fifth IVF round, I began to feel some pain in my hands. And, when you turn faucets, you open doors, you turn door handles or knobs. And when I was using scissors, I was having some pain, which I thought, what feels like what I imagine arthritis would be, but I think I'm too young for that. I did go to my doctor who ran some tests, and she told me that, hooray, I had got the right answer. Yes, I did, in fact, have rheumatoid arthritis. And luckily, there were things I could do. I could take immune suppressants, injectables into your belly on a regular basis to suppress my overactive immune system from destroying the tissue in my joints. But she said there was something I hadn't self-diagnosed, which was lupus. And that unfortunately did not have a cure. I'd never heard of it. And I think like most well-educated patients, I said, right, what are the chances that this is a false positive? And she said, no, I don't think so. Your cytokine levels and your tumor necrosis factor alpha scores, your C-reactive protein, they're all off the charts. So what those are, they're all measures of inflammation and of your body's immune system response. And I said, but that's a good thing, right? To have a strong immune system. And she said, well, it would be if your body was trying to fight cancer. But in this case, your body is fighting itself. So she made me understand this was a kind of friendly fire, and that whereas the RA could be helped with drugs, there simply was no cure for lupus, which goes after your tissues and organs. Because I'd never heard of it before, I decided that let's try this again. Can we take this test again? I remember having a bad result in school on a math test, told the teacher I was feeling poorly that day. Could we take the test again and see if we get a different answer? And she gave me a sympathetic look and said, well, it's your health insurance. So I left knowing I could take that test again. I had a do-over, as it were. And I decided I was going to educate myself on this disease, learn everything I could about its possible root causes, and then try and remove all of those root causes, just so that in the worst case scenario, I would meet my doctor halfway. So the RA was going to be taken care of by the drugs, but this lupus thing, I still needed help with it. So went away with that mindset. And the more that I researched, the more I realized that inflammation was the root cause and the dysregulated immune system. So I decided to remove all of the triggers of my immune system, the possible triggers, gluten and dairy being two major ones. I went on the Zone anti-inflammation diet by Dr. Barry Sears, which was popular around 2005. And I then also researched a very experimental, relatively new treatment called intravenous immunoglobulin. And I looked at it and I thought, it seems to be working in these small cohort studies. And although other people who were immunologists were saying, but you don't want to do it because you're pooling antibodies from hundreds, maybe thousands of other people, and you don't know what else might be in there, like prions that cause mad cow disease, or, we didn't know about hepatitis C in blood transfusions until it was too late. But in my mind, I knew they were already selecting out for prions. They were looking for hep C. In my mind, I thought, I have no other options. I've been given this hard deadline of 5 years. So maybe this works. If this works, I have a chance of living many, many more years. If this doesn't work, well, anyway, I don't have so much time. And so I did 2 rounds of intravenous immunoglobulin, or IVIG. At the time, they were $12,000 a piece. I hear that they're anywhere from $30,000 to $90,000 now, a transfusion. Yes, things have changed from that time to now. But what I will say was that it worked. And when I went back to get tested again within 6 months, my doctor simply said, well, look at that. You don't have you don't have lupus anymore. And I thought, wait a second. That's when the penny dropped. And I thought, hang on, 6 months ago, or however many months ago it was, you told me I had so many years left. You said there was no cure, but somehow I have cured myself. Like, everyone needs to know about this, right? This could help so many other people. And also, you have to stop telling people that they have only 5 years left. Now, I think the reason why she did that was because I was in my 5th IVF round and I was using donor eggs. So I was doing everything. I was probably stressing my body with all of the follicle stimulating hormone, all the injections of the hormones and things. So I think that what she wanted to do was just save me the grief of trying for a baby when I probably wouldn't live long enough to take care of that baby. Right? I think that was the message. That was why she gave me such a hard deadline. But the reality is that the body was able to respond. And I always say that the IVIG returned my body to homeostasis or balance, returned my immune system to balance. And I also, at the same time, removed the triggers, the gluten and dairy that were probably kicking off this cytokine storm first in my gut with leaky gut. And we now know gut dysbiosis is one of the new hallmarks of aging. That was triggering an inflammatory response in the gut. And then, as those undigested proteins went into my bloodstream and the immune system began to identify those proteins as enemies, they then began to mislabel similar looking proteins like my thyroid, like my joint tissue, like my other organs as enemy and began to attack them. That inflammation is also a new hallmark of aging. So I was aging too quickly at a relatively young age. I was only 39. And by stopping this and bringing the body back into balance, I effectively not only saved my life, but I reversed the age and the pace at which I was aging, right? So chronologically, I was 39. Biologically, I had all of these hallmarks of aging that were sort of running away from me. The inflammation, the gut dysbiosis, just very, very dysfunctional. And in the process of bringing things back to balance, I was able to reverse the diagnoses, but also, reverse the pace at which I was aging.